Hi, friends of Heart Consciousness Church in Harbin Hot Springs. My name is John Hoey, also known as Poet Sam Flott, and we're here today to start our new series called Harbin Hearts. And what we're doing is we'd like to bring you some behind-the-scenes information by interviewing subject matter experts at Harbin Hot Springs. We're starting today with our first guest, Lia Findley Jennings, and she is Managing Director at Harbin Hot Springs, and she's also one of the ministers for the Heart Consciousness Church. Welcome to the show, Lia.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Okay, we're going to start by saying, can you please begin telling us your background and what you do each day at Harbin Hot?
So, background, I don't know, that seems like a long time ago because I've been here almost 30 years. So that's like another lifetime or two or three ago. Background, I came from Los Angeles. I came here accidentally. Someone introduced me, and I went back home. On the drive home, I said, I think I'm going to move there. And my friend said, I don't know, you should probably think about that. But I had picked up all the information on the community here, and it really spoke to me. So I decided, waited 2 weeks, I didn't say anything, and I quit my job and moved up a month later.
Okay.
And then what I do day to day, so I oversee rebuild. I oversee several departments, events and water and pool and landscaping. And I work daily or moment to moment with the other managing directors and department liaison in our operations circle. And that's just the day-to-day business of running the place. And then also there's a vision component of that where I think a lot about what we're going to do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And always staying current because we're still in the middle of building, and we've started the farm, but there are other things that we want to put our attention to after this year, which is the 50th anniversary of Heart Consciousness Church. And so,
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of us. When we clear what we're doing now, which should be by the end of 2025, fingers crossed, as we go into 2026, we'll want to turn our attention to more community building and other things we need to get started to have our happy future.
And the rebuild's been just about 10 years at this point?
Yes, I haven't been involved in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And kudos and thanks to, and a lot of gratitude to the people who came before and who set up a lot of things so that we could complete what we're completing now.
The things that we see being built now, the restaurant and the hotels coming in, they've been planned for a very long time. And it's I don't think people would quite even understand that. Yeah, that those were the first things we were planning within the first year for rebuild.
Yes. So the general plan got approved by Lake County in 2017, and we reopened in 2019.
Uh-huh.
And so in between that time, a lot of stuff got built, a lot of infrastructure got put in, the pools got put back, a lot of planning about what things look like in the future for future buildings got settled. And yeah, so we're almost 10 years past the fire now.
Mm-hmm.
In September will be the 10th anniversary. And we finished the dressing room, which took an unfortunate amount of time to finish, but that's what happened.
It's almost worth it.
It was worth it. It's really beautiful.
Yep.
And the steam room is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're 6 months from completing the restaurant and the hotel.
The cup. Wow, that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
And the hotel will be put on the foundations by a crane next week.
Yes, July 8th, 9th, and 10th. The units have mostly been delivered. There's 26 rooms. They were built prefabricated in Oregon by a company called Elevate.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a quality high-end builder, and they built these 26 rooms separately, and they've been trucked to us, and they're being staged at the farm, our new farm, and they'll be trucked from the farm and to Harbin and then craned into place. And stay tuned because the film will be spectacular.
Yes. Okay.
I should say also they get craned into place, and they're finished on the inside, but then there's a 3-story deck that gets built around it, and a bridge from the hotel across to the lower level of the elevator at the pools.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be another 6 months.
Yeah,
I'd say before.
still more to do.
Conservatively.
Great.
Yes, many. They have to be, they're like Legos, so they have to be placed, and then they all have to be attached to each other with all of the electrical and plumbing and all of that. So it'll be a while.
All right. Well, we kind of jumped a little bit to rebuild. And we're going to reel back.
Okay.
To both of us like to talk about rebuild because I work in fundraising. She works at rebuild, and what we're raising money for, it's rebuild. So you can go to harbin.org, find the donation page, and find the one that you want to donate to. You can donate either to the rebuild or to the eco farm. But what I wanted to ask you about personally, and I think this moment comes around different for everybody, is that you come here to Harbin Hot Springs, you fall in love with it, you realize that this is something I want to do. I want to work here. I want to stay in this place. I want to be here for a long time. But then there's a moment that you understand that Harbin Hot Springs is run by Heart Consciousness Church. How did that come to you? When did you get it and understand that part of that component of it?
So I think I got that from the beginning. So my discovery, in quotes, of Harbin Hot Springs was it was an answer to a personal prayer. I had been living in Los Angeles and knew that it wasn't really for me anymore. I'd been a pretty committed yuppie in the 90s, through the 90s as a young adult, and
It happened to the best of us.
what are you gonna do? And I just discovered that I was more than that. I really wanted a life that had some spiritual meaning and a deeper purpose. And I really wanted to serve something in my life. And I found Harbin, and Harbin hit the bell, and the Heart Consciousness Church owns Harbin. And when I was here in my early times, there was a lot of discussion about retreat, story. And for me, it was a moot conversation, like spiritual retreat.
Yeah.
And we were owned and operated by a church, the Heart Consciousness Church. And something about the place just really, I mean, every place you turn is something that could lead you to go deeper personally. So, it seemed to me like a lot of people who were here were doing personal growth work. And I just really loved being in a field where people were seeking some kind of truth, big T, and also personal truth.
So how did your relationship with Heart Consciousness develop after that as you moved along?
I got ordained. I went through the ministerial program. That was
which is in depth.
I think it was in the early 2000s. It was at least 15 years ago. So what is that? 2010? I feel like it was before that, but I'm losing my math skills at the moment.
Yeah.
So, I just took it deeper with becoming a minister. That was really meant something to me. I wanted to be really just in total service. And then all along, there have been more reasons to just go deeper.
Yeah.
I realized over the years that my mission in life was to serve, say it again. And there just were more and more opportunities with that, like when the fire happened in 2015. I did not lose my home, and it gave me a stable place to do community work and try to keep us connected and to focus on the people.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't working for the church for 3 years there. after the fire. But then I came back on as events and spiritual activities coordinator, which was another name for head minister back then. And then I became a managing director, department liaison, a managing director, and spiritual director. So at every turn, I've just been able to go deeper with this.
Yeah, it took me a little while. I know when I came here, I loved it for the community more than any. For me, it was all of these creative people that were here, and everybody seemed like they were always smiling. I'm sure they weren't, and we weren't always smiling, no, but it felt like everybody was always smiling walking around in paradise, really. So I just wanted to be here. It took me a while to come to the heart consciousness side of things that I knew about it, but I didn't always understand it. But I got a much better understanding when my wife went through the minister training program. I understood how in depth it was, and I understood much better what heart consciousness was, and that worked for me. And I don't believe I would be in any other church. Really, I never thought I would be involved in any church. But it's really special, and it's very different than anything else I've experienced. And it's spiritual as opposed to religious. People don't know the difference there.
You know that quote from Will Rogers? I wouldn't belong to any organized party. I'm a Democrat. Well, I wouldn't belong to any organized religion.
Any organized group that would have me. Actually,
Woody Allen.
That's how he put it. Yeah.
Woody Allen did that one too.
Yeah. That's we used to quote that, but I can't anymore. So, the recently opened burn dressing. What's your favorite part?
Oh, I love how beautiful it is. It's really serene. It's like Incan is head of our design team, and she did a really beautiful job of the tile and colors and the even the plumbing fixtures. If anybody notices at the steam room, the handle of the handles going into the dressing room. They were originally a dark bronze, and they're patinaed in a way so that the use of them takes off the original color and their copper underneath. And so they're already weathering really, really beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be fun to watch.
It's a seemingly a small point, but it really is something that's going to develop into something beautiful.
And we touched on the restaurant, but let's go a little deeper. The restaurant is located between the garden and the pools, basically just above the hill.
Top of the garden.
Up the hill. Top of the garden.
Top of the gars. And it's also, you can say, there is a Magic Inn Road, if you remember that, going up to Main Side, and there's a lower road that's called Old Stagecoach Road, because that's what it was in the 1800s.
Okay.
And they meet at a corner, and that the restaurant is in that corner
where the bridge is,
where the
new bridge that was
at the bottom
after
yes.
built. So we are out here in the meadow, because we forgot to mention that earlier. And as you come out to the meadow, you come out over a little bridge. So Magic Inn Road goes up the hill towards the pools, right at the beginning of the bridge as you drive into property.
The first bridge. Yeah.
There's
another bridge below the Y, where the meadow, we're above that.
And right behind where the restaurant will be the hotels Walnut and Azalea.
Yes, it's up the hill, and it's actually on Main Side, below the pools. It's between the old gazebo area, the turnaround at the Pools Road, and the pools above it. And it's where Walnut and Azalea used to be, and it is. It looks similar. It's updated, kind of Victorian, and it's offset, so it's let's see if I can do this. It's like this, and in between there's an elevator, and so in the middle there's 3 stories, and on each end it's 2. So
and the wraparound porch.
The wraparound porch, three stories of wraparound porch, and a bridge from the back corner of it to the lower pools elevator.
Okay. Wow.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is. It's exciting.
It is.
I know that showing pictures of it to some guests, and they're reacted very well. They really like the look of it, and they immediately go to, oh wow, it really does look similar to the original one. So that's
The part of the intention is to give people who've been here before, and lots of people come for a long time, a historical reference point or a good through line so that they don't feel totally misplaced or lost, or we want to give enough reference to the past so that there's some continuity.
Yeah, there were many of the things that were recognizable were either buildings or little corners or special little things that were there, and then those aren't there, and it does sometimes, if you haven't been here in a long time, you might a little bit lose where you're at. But there's a gazebo that will be coming in eventually.
Yes.
Okay, so we can explain that. We haven't been able to have a gazebo.
Right. So the gazebo can't go up until the hotel goes in because of the massive trucks that have to bring these units in, and they're going to have to position themselves, and they're going to do some probably dance around this where the fountain pool is in the gazebo.
Yeah.
We haven't filled that in yet either because we're just waiting for the time when we can put the iconic gazebo back up.
Yes.
And then there are other buildings that are meant to be built in that area. The vendor lawn is on the general plan is targeted as a theater complex.
Okay.
But we won't get to that anytime soon. So we'll put the gazebo back, and then, we'll construct it because we're smart this way so that if it needs to be taken down, it can be taken down.
I believe it's a work in progress, and it may be for a little while yet. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And that's okay, because it's really great to get these things back and to get back to, it's been wonderful the way it is. It's a little quieter, a little less people here, but people are really excited to be in rooms that are closer to the pools. This is a reaction I get. We've been doing a fundraising pop-up table this summer, and we have a lot of back and forth with the guests. So it's really wonderful to get reactions from them and to do a little public relations and talk to these folks and understand what they're seeing, because we see it, we love it.
Sure.
But I think it's really wonderful to hear from other people too, and to know that.
Yeah, it's good to hear from them. They're not shy about giving us feedback about what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also really grateful and vocal about that, and that's gratifying because we have been working really hard for a long time.
That's interesting that you say they're not shy. I really can feel that, having been away from California for 7 years and returning back down here. And Chayo said that to me the other day when I was talking how great it is to be around my people, and she said, "We're not afraid to share." And that is true. And
ruggers.
And on that subject, not afraid, not shy to share. After the fire in 2016, we didn't have a fundraising department. We hadn't needed it because we had membership and we had people paying to come to the pools. It was the first time that we were in need of donations and help from folks, which is fairly rare for a nonprofit. But we were receiving donations unsolicited from people. They were just sending them into us, and I guess it was probably, maybe May, June, July or so in 2016. We were all kind of sitting around saying, like, I think we have to start a fundraising department. So thank you for all of you who were not shy to share with us. Really appreciate it very much. It got us understanding how we had to move forward at the time.
I think it's important for people to know that it is a church that is our leading organization.
Yeah.
And, there are many, many reasons to donate to your spiritual home. And we give plenty of opportunities to find that reason. You guys have done a really good job.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I'm hoping in the future
to work with.
and I'm hoping in the future we really manifest something like a university endowment program where people, because, we've had a lot of alumni and maybe they want to give money back to something that affected them deeply. And we also, recently we have had a couple of, I think there are more, but recently there have been a couple of people who've come forward and said they wanted to donate money. They wanted to leave us money in their will.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly touching.
It is.
And really sweet. And so there are many ways to donate. And there are many places people want to donate. There's many organizations that need help right now.
Absolutely.
And I think probably what happened was that's what happened after the fire. People were just struck by the place they loved had closed and had burned down almost 95% of it. So I think they had an interest in making sure that it regenerated, was put a place for that to the future.
It touched a lot of people. I know that. It was a tough few years afterwards for the community, and we fought through it. Thankfully, we were a church, and we were a good group of people to help each other. It's hard when it feels like we all need help when it comes on the whole community like that. And I think it hit us hard, but I think we worked our way through it fairly well, and we have a really great setup here. We have a good thing happening. We're concentrating on Heart Consciousness Church, and I think it's a great direction.
Yes, and our doors are open to people who want to come and be members and get in the water and enjoy the land and meet the people and really have a place where they feel like they belong in the world, because it can feel really isolated out there. And that's my thing I like to say is I don't want anybody to feel they're alone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's always
good to have a home.
It is. It's good to have a base and some like-minded individuals that you can spend your time with.
Sure. We've had some fun.
So, special project. I know it's a passion for you. The new Harbin Eco
Yes.
project.
Yes.
It's maybe so it's a 37 acres, and maybe you want to explain. You have a good explanation of where it is for folks.
I do.
How you do this.
I do. So when you're coming to Harbin, you go past the high school in Milltown, and you swing around across a bridge. It's a lot of bridges because there's a lot of creeks here. And you come, there's a vineyard on your right, and to the left of that is an open field. And we own that 37 acres, and that's where the farm is, and it's going up. And it'll be a little bit more visible for you now because the shade structures are going up, and the fencing is going around the acre that we're starting to cultivate. There's a test strip of plants growing there, so you can see what's doing really well out there.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a trailer break room for people. So as in the next few months, it really is starting to look like something.
And the walkway for the animal.
The wildlife corridor.
Corridor, yeah.
So the wildlife corridor is one of the 7 plans we were given money from the state of California. The wildlife corridor allows a clear unobstructed path for the local wildlife to get from, say, the hills above the farm to the creek, because we are in between them. And you want to give the wildlife a chance to survive and thrive. So the corridor is in conjunction with our neighbor, the farm behind us. There's another farm being developed behind us. And we've together figured out a way for the animals. It'll be fenced so the animals can get from point A to Point Creek. Yeah.
Point C. Okay, and
Can I say why it's important to have the farm?
please.
So there's not a lot of local food where we are, and I don't know where you live, but local food is really, really important. And we have a lot of grapes and we have a lot of cannabis, but we don't have a lot of fruits and vegetables. So it seemed to me that for our future, we needed local food, and we needed it not just for Harbin, for the restaurant and the guests and the staff, but we also needed it for the locals. So I'm really excited that we're adding this. And we had a farm before the fire, and it was really great. And then we lost it in the fire. So we were just trying to put back things that made sense to us.
Okay. And that's reminding me that one thing we forgot. I wanted to talk about the restaurant. Just so we go backwards for a moment.
Sure.
This is one of my favorite aspects of the restaurant. It was this way at Stonefront. It's going to be this way in the future. When the restaurant is closed and not serving food, it will still be open. So it will be open 24/7 for our guests to come. Cold water, hot water, relief from the weather, cold or warm.
Bathrooms, charging stations. Yes. It
It's like a social center, really.
yes, it's designed to be the hub.
Yeah.
And Sajad, who was a former managing director, now he's retired, he decided that the restaurant was critical for a hangout place, because since the fire took all the buildings, there's precious few places to get out of the weather. And there's weather here. Can be hot, can be cold, when it's not just beautiful. And so as we continued on with the restaurant, it seemed to me like we needed an all-building generator, because we needed not just lights and charging and Wi-Fi. We needed coffee and some food, and a place to gather when the weather was bad or the power was off. So there'll be power in the restaurant if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm imagining it's going to develop into a place for open mics or closed mics, like that's a phrase I learned from you. I hadn't heard that one. But performances. I mean, when we could have music on the patio because it's very large, and we could just do all kinds of things, and I'm certain it's going to become the place where people hang out.
Yeah,
and not just charge their phone, but also, meet new people. We're going to have another community table. So remember, in the old restaurant, we had the big round table that sat 8 or more people.
Yeah.
So we'll have a banquet for 2 tops, and we'll have many 4 top tables and 2 top tables. But we're also bringing back the community table, so it will seat 8. And so singles can sit down there and make new friends, or anybody you just want to sit and have your coffee and chat a little bit. So I know the restaurant was really important to me when I got here. I would wake up in the morning with a question in my mind for myself, and I would go to the restaurant for breakfast, and somebody would speak directly to that question, even though I hadn't asked it.
Wow.
And it was, just miraculous, synchronistic, and beautiful.
Yeah, and that just keeps happening.
And I learned a lot so much. I've learned a lot from just people. Everybody who's come across my path in all these years has just been a Buddha of one type or another. There was so much mystical magic and spiritual awareness, and even if they weren't spiritually aware, I learned something from that.
I mean, everybody here has kind of comes for a different reason in a lot of ways. Like we all come. There's something different, and then some people want yoga, and other people want the pools, and other people just like the land. I don't know. There's different for everyone. So it's really, you're going to run into a bunch of different Buddhas in that respect. Yeah, you're going to run into people. And from what I felt was, if you were open to it, you're absolutely learning from everybody here. Or like you said,
everybody's a Buddha.
Even if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, there's a lot to be learned in that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't always all do what we're supposed to be doing, but we have ways that like our folks in our guest services will be just gentle with people, and the people that do security are gentle, and they don't do it necessarily the way you might see in other places, and I've always really appreciated it.
Yeah, we hope for Peace Patrol.
Peace patrol is the correct word, right? For rather than
Security also.
yeah.
But
Okay.
Peace Patrol is a good one too.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah,
always go by that.
because they keep the peace, and harmony is highly valued by us.
I've seen some really wonderful people work in that department and accomplish their job in ways that you do not see in other locations.
Spiritual Jedis.
Really amazing, as recently as a week or two ago I've seen that.
Yeah, we have an amazing security. We have an amazing staff all around. Everybody who works here. Nobody's a resident anymore because the resident program is paused. Hopefully,
With no housing available around in the area, very little housing is one of the reasons.
right. We were a live-in community before, and so 100 people lived on land, and then on the land, and then I don't know how many, 60 lived off property in Harbin-owned houses, but we were residents of Harbin Hot Springs, and that contributed a lot to community building. Even so, we have a community-oriented staff. I just came from the staff lunch that happens every Friday, and we throw lunch together, usually with a plan. There's a theme, and then we all contribute to, a nice little potluck.
Yeah.
And it feels it's very friendly.
I get a family feel from it personally. I know I'm kind of sort of new back to this era. We left in 2018 before we reopened. So to see it reopen, to come back here, we've been back every year, and I have to say I've really appreciated the people that are working here, and I keep noticing it. I really, I mean, I know we have a different thing happening because we don't have the resident program as we did before, and it still is an amazing group of people. They sparkle and they shine, and they want to be here, and that's really exciting to me. I like to see it. Folks might feel it's a little bit different. I can notice some differences, but I don't really. It's mostly, to me, it feels like it's the same. Incredible land. The people come here for the same reasons we all came here in the past, because this land will grab you and come up through the soles of your feet and end up right up about here and here, as best I can tell, and keep you here. I guess this is a good time to talk about the ministry program. When was, so we had a class, the fire happened in 2015. We had a class that graduated, and I can remember this because my wife was in that class. They graduated shortly after the fire. I think they were pretty much finished with everything, and the fire happened. That one of the first times we got together again after that, I think, was for that ordination, which was
That was at winter solstice in 2018.
amazing.
Yeah, and it was monumental because anytime we came together as a group after the fire, when we'd just been thrown to the wind, was special.
Yeah. True.
Arpita was the spiritual director at that moment,
Mhm.
and then I got the position. The name was changed to Spiritual Activities Coordinator in 2018. The program, the ministers organization group circle had been paused.
Yeah.
Even though many of us were out in the world doing the work, we weren't so organized.
And then another class.
Yeah. So we had the trial by fire ordination in 2017.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that was before, because it was before I became spiritual activities coordinator. And we asked the people who had been residents if they wanted to be ordained, because people were really longing for a deeper relationship with each other and a connection, and they were willing to commit in a way they maybe hadn't been before to Harbin, which was closed, and regrouping. And so we had 30 people come forward from the resident population and say, yes, they wanted to be ordained. So it was summer solstice in 2017. It was hot as anything. And we sat out at Bar X, which we owned back then. And Anne Kren, who'd had the most experience, she was the spiritual director when I got here in 1996. She did the ordination.
Wow.
And that's something I'm super proud of. And in the line of things I've done here.
It was a good idea. It was definitely a time where people had experienced a trial by fire, and there's no doubt. And that made a lot of sense. And you're right. I think people were looking for that connection more than ever, maybe at that time, after having been so many.
That was my observation, was that people just really wanted to belong and to know that they still belong to this place, because somebody said to me once, working for this place isn't like working for the phone company. When you work for the phone company, when you leave, you're done. You probably don't think about the phone company ever again. But here we tend to hang on to our affiliation, because it was such a place of massive change for many of us. And I think most people are really grateful for that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll say it again. It's really important to belong somewhere.
I don't think many people even understand that inside themselves, that it's so important to do that. And there's a longing. A lot of people have a longing, and they might not even realize that.
Yes, sometimes your birth family is not where you belong, and so you have to go out to the world and you have to choose your family and friends.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's both.
It can go either way, and then sometimes when you get those family and friends, and they become your family too. So yeah,
you have to find your people.
That's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I feel like I've done that. What's your favorite holiday ceremony when we do the church ceremonies here, the ritual?
Right. So we do the 8 turn of the wheel. They are earth-based holidays, and they happen about every 6 weeks in the calendar year. And mine is Beltane, and we're within sight of the maypole. It's just over there. We do Beltane is April 30th, and it's the celebration of the direction of the South. And so it's a celebration of passion and creativity and leadership and fertility. And the Beltane, we choose the May Queen, and we gather, and she chooses a consort, and then they agree to frolic, let's say. Frolic and have fun and ensure the crops will grow and be abundant. And that's the old earth-based way. And then we come back the next day, and we dance the maypole. And the maypole is really symbolic because it's a literal weaving of ribbons, multicolored ribbons around a pole, with people weaving in and out. And it's a good chance for everybody to look at each other. And in the more ancient times, people came out then because it was warm enough to be outside and warm enough to be out in your community and getting a good look at each other. And it's a riot, and it's totally fun. And it's a 2-day holiday. It's the only one that's 2 days. That's why I love that.
Beltane. Make sure you come up here, folks. That's a good one. Don't miss it.
May 1st is the maypole.
All right. My notes say here that I'm supposed to mention the Harbin.org is our website, and we'd appreciate any donations. You can go and find the donate button on there. We're raising money for both the rebuild and the Harbin Eco Farm. What do you feel motivates you on a daily basis? We could take a second.
What motivates me? Well, I do a lot of personal growth work. Like, I start my day generally with something that inspires me. Can be something fun, like, cat videos. whatever it is, sometimes it's reading and actual studying. But I do look around me to see what other people are doing, because people can be really inspiring with how they're creative and how they care. And, here at work, it really is, there's just so many people around us who genuinely care, and they care in different ways. And it's, every single person is doing something that's notable. And it's really gratifying that, I work personally hard for this place to be successful. And then when somebody else is doing the same and doing, monumental things, our managers just handle so much, and they are willing to do more. And they rarely say no, and they often generate things, their own ideas for how they're doing their work. And it's just really, it's inspiring. It's really touching.
And that inspiration, really, I think it spreads, really.
Yeah. So then you have staff who are not managers, and they're also, we do shout outs in our department managers meetings to notice, in writing and amongst our group, who's putting in the extra effort, who's really feeling it, who's really heart conscious, who's really shown up to be in service to the people in the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it stands out. I know through life I've taken a lot of inspiration from just seeing the passion that people have for one thing or another, and just sort of trying to plug that back into my own life, and how would that work for me to take the passion I have and try to.
Right. Well, it's a self-generating system, right? It's also like an infinite energy loop. Mm-hmm. If I'm inspired by you and you're inspired by me, and we just keep going back and forward with it, then, it's all good.
That's worked really well for me here, I have to say. I was like, I could observe somebody doing something that's entirely different from something I might do creatively, but I can take a lot of energy from it. As so many people come here with so much happening, they have a lot going on, and it's in all different realms. And it feels to me like you're the question being what motivates you daily is you're making the venue happen for all of these wonderful souls to come and practice their passion and increase all the different inspirations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's totally everybody who's there. I mean, we couldn't do this without 114 people.
We can make that "you are making it happen" plural.
We are making it happen. How about that?
We're making it happen.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's a much better way to put it. Okay. Well, what challenges do you see in the next few upcoming years or into the?
So there are still missing basic pieces of infrastructure that we need. We need a community kitchen. We need resident housing. We need a maintenance annex. We need more offices. So we need more concrete things, not built out of concrete, but solid things that we can be more comfortable in our work, and that we can offer a better experience for being here to our members who have hung in there with us since the fire and waited for that dressing room for 9 years. And it's coming, I promise. So the only impediment always is money. Mm-hmm. So that's partially why we're here, is just to ask for people to any donation of any size is really valuable. And I will tell the story about the $70 million check. So
can I ask the question first?
Sure. You're going to ask the question?
If money were no object, what would you propose for Harbin's future? Maybe somebody out there will fund our dreams to the hill.
Okay, so here's the pitch for the dream. So one of our minister ordination candidates, he said he had a full-on vision that there was a check handed to Harbin, written it's Harbin's name, and it was $70 million. So maybe you're that person who wants a spiritual home that has beautiful water and beautiful people and supportive land. And any donation of any amount,
absolutely,
is put to good use.
We are so happy to get anything. We have a lot of people that donate regularly at a small amount, It'll do $10 a month or something, and it really adds up. It's really amazing to look at those reports when I look at them.
So my dream is the endowment system that we can we can inspire generosity, people who love the place and love the people, and who want to see it thrive and go forward into the future. And you do that with a solid financial base, and we're doing well. And this is a massive undertaking. It's the main site is 525 acres, and it is a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of personnel, a lot of love to keep it running. We have our own water system that, is 10 years down the road and needs upgrading.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot to run a water district. And
We were so lucky it wasn't damaged by the fire. Really, that was the one thing that really held its own. The water.
the whole thing's been replaced. So because there was so much damage to the pipes from the fire.
Oh, from the pipes, yeah.
But also just these things, even things like trucks for maintenance, they last some time and then they need to be replaced. And these are things we work on every day, how to be as solid as we can be.
Well, I don't know who coined the phrase, but I keep reusing it. As so much beautiful progress and still so much more to do.
Yes. Funny story. So on the general plan, when the whole thing is finished, which I don't think I'm going to see or be in charge of because it's going to take many, many more years to put all of it in place, but there'll be 84 bathrooms.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so when all the houses are in and all the buildings are in and all of the facilities, it will be something.
That's a thing to look forward to, folks.
84 bathrooms. Maybe that's the name of our next fundraising. 84 bathrooms.
So I think on that note, we'll finish up. We're just really lucky to have you. We feel really lucky to have you here as one of our leaders. And I don't know if I could give you enough thanks for what you do, but thank you so much. We really appreciate you. You're leading us forth into the future, the unknown future, and is doing a wonderful job of it, from coming straight from the heart, from the edges of Middletown.
Happy to be here in my heart.
Yeah, it shows.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me today and answering my questions. We hope that it'll inspire people at home watching. And again, we're raising money for the rebuild and for the Harbin Eco Farm. So you can go to harbin.org and make a donation, and we'll be forever grateful. And from our Harbin Hearts to yours, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.